Right. Hi everyone, it's Johnny Seed here again. And the other day I was watching a video by Matt Talks Vinyl about a film called Rock and Rule, which some of you may or may not have heard of. It was a Canadian science fiction rock and roll cartoon that came out in 1982, I believe, and was released over in the UK anyway on VHS in 1985. And it was a really good video. I'll put a link to it down below. I recommend you go and check it out. I remember seeing this film Rock and Roll back in the 80s and I thought it was really good. My brother had it on VHS, and so I sent him a message and said, have you still got that VHS? There's this great video on YouTube about it, and he was like, I have, and I've got some other things as well, so next time you're around you can have a look at them. And so I'm here now in my old bedroom, and if I can just find it. What have I done with the VHS? Oh, there it is. So this was the VHS version that was released first in the UK in 1985. It was re-released a few years later on the sell-through video. This is on Embassy. This was the same version that you could get in the rental shops, but I don't think many people heard about it. It didn't really get much publicity. And I think people first became aware of it in the UK when Marvel made a one-off comic, a photo story version of it, and that's when my brother found out about it and then was intrigued enough to go and hunt out the VHS. And this has a running time of 80 minutes, so I don't know how much of it was cut at all from the original Canadian version. Okay, so not only does my brother have the VHS version, he also got the LaserDisc version, and this is the Japanese LaserDisc version. It's in English with Japanese subtitles. And this was released in Japanese. Do you not know the date, do you? 1983 it says on here. So this came out in 1983, which would predate the VHS version over here. This one has a running time, I've just noticed, of 79 minutes. There's nothing really to see on there. It's shiny. Ooh. Smell. Look at that LaserDisc smell.
That's just about the finest smell in the world.
Okay, so there's the back. Try and get it in there without the glare. There you go. So yes, this would have been the best picture quality version you could find. Obviously superior to the VHS, not quite DVD standard, but in the 80s this was the bee's balls. These are the bee's knees. Sorry. So if you're not familiar with the film, it's a science fiction rock and roll musical with some really good artists on it. It's got Lou Reed, Iggy Pop, Debbie Harry and Cheap Trick, so a lot of sort of early 80s American new wave sort of music. And the film itself is set in some sort of dystopian weird future where the people are made sort of half, well, they're sort of mutants, aren't they? Sort of half mutant people. No. They're kind of like half rats and half people, and they're into rock and roll. It's kind of like, it's a bit Blade Runner-ish as well in parts, I guess. That's sort of the way they depict the future. Right, which brings us on to this. This is the DVD version, which was released in 2005. Not sure if it's out on Blu-ray at all yet.
Yes, it did eventually get a Blu-ray release.
Yes, it did eventually get a Blu-ray release, I'm being informed. So there's the inside. Mock is the lead villain, well, the villain in the film. And what does it say there? At the ohmTown power plant. So this was, oh right, so these are gig posters, I think. So in the film, Mock is like a super star, like an old rock star sort of thing, but it turned evil. It's kind of a bit sort of Bowie-ish. Reminded me a bit of Bowie in Labyrinth, crossed with Bowie in real life, really.
He was halfway between Lou Reed and I'm the other guy with the lips.
David Bowie?
The other guy with the lips.
Mick Jagger. It's a combo between Mick Jagger and Lou Reed with a bit of Bowie thrown in and a bit of Iggy Pop.
A lot of Iggy Pop.
And a lot of, and a lot of psychopathy. Right, so we open this up. There are the discs. So one of them is the Chinese. Why did I say Chinese? One of them is the original Canadian version, and the other one is the American release. So the original Canadian version apparently looks. The original Canadian version looks like it's a straight VHS rip. So the pitch quality isn't that great, but it must have been remastered for DVD. Mock at Carnage Hall. Right, and we have a booklet. Looks like, oh, is this an interview? So this was done by, is it, so who's the animator? Is it not Ralph Bakshi, is it?
No, it's the Canadian Nelvana company.
It's the company of Nelvana.
Right, if you watch the Matt Talks Vinyl video, he goes into a lot more detail about the origin of it and where it hailed from. And even if you haven't watched his video, the soundtrack has never been released. There's been people who've cobbled together versions of it, but unfortunately never had an official release of the songs from it, which is a shame because it would have been a fantastic soundtrack, considering who was on there. And finally, this is something I did not know we had. My brother told me when I mentioned rock and roll, he was, oh yeah. Did you know that I had this? What we have here is an original animation cell from the film. Don't know, you can see the little holographic seal of authenticity. And there you go. So let's say Q81. This is a... I'll try and insert some better quality pictures here, I think. So there's the background, and I don't know if you can tell or not on here, but this is hand painted.
It's going to be hand ruined in a minute.
Yeah, so it's, you can just tell it the way my hand is there. You can see like the brush strokes. So yeah, look at the detail and quality of that. That's amazing. But yeah, this is the actual background from the actual film, and this is a animation cell. There you go. You slime! Is that the actual line?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so that was okay, hang on. Right, so if you haven't seen the film Rock and Roll, I really highly recommend you go and check it out. It's very, very good. It's very, very 80s, but it still sort of holds up. The soundtrack is amazing. It is on YouTube, or it was on YouTube a couple of months ago. Anyway, if I can find it, I'll put a link to it. But yeah, seek it out and have a look at it. If you like 80s music, like any of them bands I mentioned, like Lou Reed, Debbie Harry, Iggy Pop, that sort of thing, and you like sci-fi and you like cartoons and animation, and you haven't seen Rock and Roll, then you're missing out. So definitely go and check it out. Go and check out Matt Talks Vinyl's video as well. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
I got uppers and downers, inners and outers, screamers and shouters, and things that make you go sideways.